Good afternoon and welcome to the Missouri ArtSafe Certified webinar. I want to thank you for attending this and appreciate the support from the ArtsKC, which has provided the digital platform that we're using today, as well as Chris Hansen as part of the Kransberg Arts Foundation, who's also provided leadership and support. My name is Michael Donovan. I'm the Executive Director for the Missouri Arts Council, and we're one of 23 arts organizations from around the state that has been meeting over 2 months now to help develop some resources and guidelines that will help the arts organizations create safely, present safely, and attend safely, and the resources to do that. So what we're going to talk about today is how to train your frontline staff, how to develop a plan, and what the process is to get certified as a Missouri ArtSafe organization. This webinar is being recorded, and the recording and the transcription of the recording will be available within a couple of days. We're also going to follow up with those who are registered with follow-up email with the links and additional resources as well. So who should participate in this? This was designed for arts organizations, both for-profit and nonprofit, all sizes, anywhere in Missouri, and even in the Kansas City and St. Louis area that are serving Missouri audiences. This is something that we developed as organizations looking ahead at this pandemic and developing resources that we thought the organizations would need to help to develop a response and make themselves attractive to audiences, and to know what are the best practices in order to do this. We're presenting this now in the midst of a pandemic that is still increasing for a couple of reasons. We understand this is not the time to open for a lot of organizations, and we're not expecting you to do so. This is something that you will have to decide when is the right time. We wanted to anticipate the need, develop the resources in advance so you had the time to develop your response to this. So 3 caveats up front. There's no cost to participate. There's no has no bearing on your Missouri Arts Council grant, whether you participate or not, and it's entirely optional. You're not required to be certified in order to open. Indeed, some organizations already have opened, but we think that there are a number of reasons why you might want to participate, and here's a few of them. There's going to be an opportunity for you to train your frontline staff and volunteers with a video that we're going to show you shortly in a few minutes. There's going to be resources for you to build your reopening plan. And I think that's something that every organization is going to want to have in order to be certified, but also in order to give confidence to your audiences that will be coming to your venues and to your events. You may be asking yourself, when should we reopen? And I think that there are 3 steps involved in that decision. First of all, when your community allows it. You know, your communities have a health authority that will determine when you're able to open and what the constraints are in opening. So that's number 1. Number 2, when your audience wants you to reopen. You can't get ahead of your audience, and many organizations have already surveyed their audience, determine when they're willing to come back and under what conditions that they're willing to come back. And finally, when your organization and people are prepared for it. There's a number of steps involved in this, and that's some of the things that we're going to talk about today. Now we're about to present the training video that was produced with the support of the Kransberg Arts Foundation. And this training video is designed to be used for every person who is going to be working with the public on the front line in an art event that's open to the public. Your staff, your volunteers, your board, everyone. It's not a long video, only 9 minutes long, but it covers a number of mitigation policies that we have developed that will help you understand how to increase your hygiene and sanitation, dress code policies, including masking policies, health screenings for your staff or the public, contact tracing protocols to ensure that guests, contractors, and volunteers have full contact information prior to entering venues, how to provide a contactless public experience, and also how to reduce the capacity of your event venue and what the policies would be for social distancing. So I'm going to ask RKC to go ahead and set up the video, and we'll play that, and then we'll regather.
The coronavirus pandemic and mitigation efforts have changed our world and will greatly alter the experience of public assembly in every form for the foreseeable future. Arts organizations, large and small, have a responsibility to define best practices and implement a set of policies and procedures to keep staff, artists, crews, and the general public safe. We've adopted universal measures to serve as a shared set of guidelines to steer your planning and amendment of your internal operating procedures and communication strategies. These measures define your commitment to safety and preparedness and help ensure to the best of your ability the health and safety of everyone who utilizes your infrastructure in artistic expression and gather to experience art in all forms. As we prepare for opening, let's discuss the 8 strategies to create safely, present safely, and attend safely. Enhance sanitation and hygiene. All venues and workspaces should undergo professional deep cleanings and receive a comprehensive viral disinfectant fogging when applicable to your venue prior to reopening. Venues and workspaces should maintain rigorous daily cleanings with increased disinfecting procedures on all high-touch surfaces. All venues and workspaces should have sanitizer and/or hand-washing stations installed at convenient locations at points of entry, common areas, offices, elevator, and restroom entrances. All workers should be required to use and should be given convenient access to sanitizer and hand-washing stations and should be routinely prompted to practice good personal hygiene. Regular hand washing is one of the best ways to remove germs and prevent its spread. Here is a reminder of best practices. Wet your hands with clean, warm, or cold water. Lather by rubbing together for at least 20 seconds. Rub palms together. Make sure you get the back of hands, between fingers, and be sure to scrub your fingernails. Rinse and dry off with a clean paper towel. COVID-19 uniform and dress code policies. All employees, vendors, contractors, and volunteers whose job scope requires interacting and/or transactions with the public or other colleagues are required to wear protective face coverings while in venues and workspaces. When applicable and possible, all guests of venues and workspaces should be required to wear protective face coverings. Venues and organizers should use best efforts to provide PPE when possible. Here are some helpful tips for proper use of PPE equipment. Identify the proper PPE for your venue. Face masks should cover the mouth and the nose. It needs to be secured either around the ears or on the top of the head and base of the neck. Wash your hands before putting on gloves. Gloves should cover your wrist. When taking off PPE, remove gloves first, using the glove and glove or bird beak method to avoid contaminating your hands. Wash your hands and then remove your face mask by pulling it away from your face without touching the front. Health screenings. This step requires employees, vendors, contractors, volunteers, and guests, when possible, receive health screenings prior to starting their shift or entering your venue or workplace. Health screenings should be done safely and respectfully in accordance with any applicable privacy laws and regulations. Consult the Centers for Disease Control for best practice in health screenings and related data collection. Here are some ways you can set up health screenings for employees and patrons. Employees can fill out a daily health questionnaire performing self-temperature checks at least once a day, twice if possible. Take temperatures of all staff and guests prior to entry into venues and workspaces. Anyone with a temperature of 100.4 or greater should be denied entry. Utilizing technology like health apps can help streamline this process. Contact tracing protocols. To ensure proper contact tracing protocols are in place, require all guests, vendors, contractors, and volunteers provide full contact information prior to or upon entering venues or workspaces. Some examples include have a sign-in at entrances, setting appointments for gallery visits, requiring reservations for restaurants, and selling tickets to theaters and concert venues in advance. Special events in your venue should require full contact information for all guests in attendance. Contactless public experience. To the best of your ability, offer the public the ability to enjoy a contactless experience at your venue entries and exits, point of sale, ticket scanning, and concessions. Here are some ways to create a contactless environment. Plexiglass screens should be used when possible to create safe boundaries for employees and guests. Keep interior doors open to reduce the handling of staff, and when possible, consider keeping the main entrances open for guests to enter without contact. If that isn't possible, consider having security or door staff open the doors for the public. Reduce capacity social distancing. Venues and workspaces should be prepared to operate at a reduced capacity with seating plots and floor plans designed to maximize and ensure social distancing at a minimum of 6 feet. This includes galleries, theaters, event spaces, restaurants, cooperative workspaces, offices, studios, rehearsal spaces, and backstage areas. Visible signs should be installed in easy-to-read locations, and responsible staff should be effectively trained in appropriate communication strategies that encourage and respectfully prompt visitors to adhere to social distancing policies. Crowd control measures can include allowing early entry into theaters, keeping lobbies clear, and plan for controlled intermission and dismissal of productions. Consider routes that allow for one way in and one way out of the establishment. Retool floor plans and encourage patrons to remain socially distant when in lines, and consider having a qualified monitor to manage the capacity of each space at all times. On-site and remote staffing. Consider a phased approach for staff re-entry into the workplace, or create a system for rotating work schedules for on-site employees. Create remote work from home policies as needed and educate staff about what is being agreed upon as a team. For office space, consider the following measures. Require masks and PPE when appropriate. Hold meetings via technology instead of in person. Create routine cleaning procedures for shared equipment like printers, kitchens, and restrooms. Limit or redesign conference rooms and limit physical paperwork and move to digital options when possible. Other shared spaces like coat rooms and staff lockers should also be modified to fit within these guidelines. Communication strategies. Now more than ever, employees and patrons are looking for health and well-being support. Every business must be able to clearly communicate these expectations and guidelines. The best way to start is by ensuring there is an internal alignment before reopening. You can do this by clearly setting employee expectations with regard to remote return to work policies, visitor, contractor, and guest policies, and sickness and leave policies. To maintain this continuity for patrons, make sure the instructions are visible for both staff and visitors. Share the information on your website and social media. During this unprecedented time, it is important for employees to understand the audience and provide information in a straightforward manner. Setting the tone is key in uncomfortable situations with guests who may not want to comply with the guidelines. Keep in mind that posture, body language, and facial expressions are visual cues that can put the consumer at ease. Kindly remind patrons of policies that don't single out one particular individual when trying to help them adhere to the policy. Remind them that personal responsibility is paramount and we're all in this together. These measures define your commitment to safety and preparedness and help ensure to the best of your ability the health and safety of everyone to keep staff, artists, crews, and the general public safe.
I want to thank Chris Hansen and Karinsburg Arts Foundation for helping producing this video and making this available statewide. What I'm going to do now is show you how we are presenting this publicly and also the registration area where you can participate as well. So I'm going to take and open up this is the main hub of Missouri ArtSafe. You can reach this at MissouriArtSafe.org, and it will bring you to this page, and you'll see that it's got branded the same way. This is the public facing page. So we've got a separate page for registration. This is where the public will also access it, as well as the organizations that are seeking to be certified. If you want to attend safely and you click here, it takes you to the bottom of the page to an anchor where there's going to be a table. This is just a mock-up at this point, but it shows you that each organization will have a link to their website, what their location is, and a link to their safety plan. And the public will be able to sort this by organization, by location, and by, so they can find the organizations that they're looking for or all the organizations in their area. This also briefly describes what we're doing with this, what the purpose of this is, and the organizations that were involved. These are the Missouri Art Safety Alliance organizations. These are the 23 arts organizations, both in St. Louis and Kansas City, that have been working to develop these programs and resources. And this is the basic Missouri ArtSafe Pledge. This is what every organization is going to be asked to address and develop a plan for. These are frequently asked questions. Most everything that we're talking about today, you will either find here on this page or on the next page that I'm going to show you, as well as these frequently asked questions. If I click on this button, it will take us to this page. And this is the page that's designed for those who are creating or presenting the arts organizations or the for-profit businesses that have venues or services that would benefit from this. It's a 4-step process. And you already participated in the first step of that. And that is to train your frontline staff and volunteers using the training video that we just saw. It's that simple. Now there's a link to this video where we ask that you register your name, your organization, and what your role in the organization is. And the reason we're doing that is because we want to make sure that we know which organizations are putting together a plan for reopening so we can be of support to that. We'll get to that registration soon. The second part is applying the 8 universal measures. Now you saw those measures discussed in the video, and we're going to have some written documentation that we're going to send you after this webinar that describes all those in more detail. But it will help you, along with examples of other plans, to help you develop your own plan, which is part 3 of this 4-step process. Now you'll have examples on stlartsresources.org, which is a website put together by the Regional Arts Commission in St. Louis, but it's available to anybody who wants to take advantage of it, that will give you resources on how to help put together your plan and also actual examples of plans. And of course, as the Missouri ArtSafe table gets developed and populated, those plans will also be available for reference. And then you'll be able to find some very specific examples of plans that you could use to help you develop your own. Now, don't just take another plan and copy your name over theirs and think it's going to fit. You're going to have to think about your plan and think about how it fits your specific needs and your requirements and your resources. But I think you'll see those examples that will help you a lot. And finally, after you've got your plan and you've applied them to your organization and your events, and you've trained your frontline staff, you'll be able to register for Missouri ArtSafe. And this is the site for that. Remember, you'll go to MissouriArtSafe.org to click to the link that takes you to this site. And this is the information that we're asking for. It's very simple. We're just going to ask for contact information, who you can be in touch with, what organization it is, and specifically what you're attesting to when you click submit, that your frontline staff and volunteers have completed the ArtSafe training, which is as simple as having them all watch the video. That you will pledge to abide by the universal measures and Missouri ArtSafe Pledge. Those are the measures we're going to send you. That the information you're submitting is correct, and that you'll notify us if this changes. And also that you'll use the logo, and this is the logo that we'll ask you to use, on your website, in your printed programs, to let the public know that you have got this certification, and also link back to the MissouriArtSafe.org website so they can find the resources for other organizations. And finally, that you'll attest that the document is submitted with the full approval of the Board of Directors. When you do that and you click submit, that information goes to the Missouri Arts Council, and then they will use that information to populate the MissouriArtSafe.org table that lists all the organizations. So when you click on the link for the video, here's where we're going to ask you to fill in that information. That's your name, your first and last name, the name of the organization, simply whether you're staff or volunteer. We ask that you don't share the link so that we can track how the training is used. And this is it. These are the resources. If you have more questions, you can simply contact us at Missouri ArtSafe at ltgov.mo.gov, and we'll put you in touch with somebody who can answer your specific questions. You'll see that email again at the end of this webinar, and again on the webinar, on the email that we will send to you. We'll be able to take your questions in a few minutes, and you'll find that at the bottom of the page where it says Q&A. Also, the chat button also allows you to get in touch with each other and everybody. And keep in mind that if you had trouble seeing the video, that you'll get, that will be part of the recording for the webinar that you'll get in a couple of days. So right now, I finally want to, before we take some questions, I want to talk about how you can promote Missouri ArtSafe. And we think this is important so that the public gets a general feeling that the arts are prepared to help them be safe in attending the arts, and also that the people who are creating the arts, the artists and the presenters themselves, are also safe as well by using the logo when you have certification, and also perhaps printing it out and using it at your point of sale, at your box office, in the venue itself, to give people a sense of what measures you're taking. That Arts Pledge will also help them understand what is going on. If you have any questions, now's the time to go ahead and open it up. It looks like we have some questions in place, so I'm going to start. First question from Greg asks, will certification be required of all organizations receiving MAC funding? Absolutely not. It has nothing to do with it. Nobody who is making a decision about funding will be aware of or take into consideration whether or not you're certified. And I'll also say that in addition, that it's not required for communities that you be certified. You're able to open up as well. In fact, you're able to take advantage of the resources, the training, and the plans and such, even without going on and getting certification. That's entirely up to you. Sharon is asked, it says, very pleased to see some good safety guidelines from the training video. While these safety precautions are so important, I wonder how some, it moves quickly as people ask questions, wonder how some of the smaller theaters will have the budget or staff to implement all these precautions. What help can they receive? Thank you, Sharon, for asking that. We've also considered that there are small and mid-sized organizations who are going to have difficulty implementing some of these ideas. And so we're developing some specific resources and support for them. I think within a couple of weeks, you'll have some information about that, but we are definitely thinking about that as well. Robert Ashton says, frontline staff need to be trained before certification. Many of our staff are volunteers and might only be identified closer to a specific event. We can train at the time, but not prior. How would we handle this? I think in that case, I would make the video available to them. I understand in the case of volunteers for an event, you may not see them or have access to that in advance. By what date should you have your staff training completed to be included on the website? This is a rolling opportunity. There is no deadline. It's no sooner than you're ready to be certified and open. So we will keep this open on an ongoing basis until you're ready. Okay. If we've already reopened with the practices outlined in the video without having watched the video, what percentage of our staff will need to view the video to get certification? I would say that we would ask that the staff that is still involved with reopening watch the video, and just to reassure that they are understanding all the concepts. I think for a 9-minute video, that's not an onerous task to ask of them to do that. There are 3 primary presenters in our town that use the same public theater should the theater adopt the certification, and are required of presenters so as not to confuse the attendees. I think that's a good question, Lori, and I would suggest that I would hope that the theater would adopt the practices, because I think this is going to affect a number of groups. And we understand that there are groups that don't have control of the space that they're in. And so that there are parts that you can certainly put into place and other parts that they will need to put into place. So I think it may be a question of cooperation between both you, the theaters, and the organization. But I would suggest that since the public is probably going to be looking at the organization itself, in terms of your practices, you're the one that they have a trust with, that I would make sure that the organization was certified. We are asking, Victoria, that the staff, members of the staff log in and access the video directly through the site. And if that is an issue, let us know and see if that is a problem. Michael says, are the renters of the facility who provides all the safety, if we are the renters of a facility who provides the safeties at the theater? We answered this in part. Part of it depends on the theater, I think, and part of the venue itself, and some of it depends on the organization that is managing the event. That may be a shared responsibility. Elizabeth asked, if one is not a venue, but a performing ensemble, much of this apply, well, some of it does. Do you think it is necessary for a performing ensemble to seek the certification? The video is helpful and great, thanks. Elizabeth, I think that to the extent that you can develop policies that apply to your organization, to your ensemble, it will help the public understand the efforts that you're taking in order to keep them safe. And I think this would apply to Rick as well. As a performing chorus, my perception is that we're reliant on the policies of whatever venues we rent. I think that the certification is going to apply to both the venue and the organization that is using the venue. Is it assumed that if one measure is needed, that all 8 measures should be implemented? I assume that the use of the guidance should be all or nothing in order to claim certification. The intention is that all of these measures are important to fully protect the public. How you develop your response to those measures, I think, is going to vary depending on the organization, its resources, its size, the circumstances of your community. So this is not a one-size-fits-all solution. I think the intention is to look at each of those areas and make sure you have a policy in place that helps address those areas. If you have questions about that, make sure that you can give us a call and we can help support your questions in that. We don't have a black and white version of the logo, but we will develop one. That should not be a problem. Suzanne, the question, having theaters and such spray for the virus before opening, if facilities have been empty for at least 6 days, the virus does not exist. Notes from efforts, and she lists comments about that. You'll decide what the needs of your facility are based on the needs of the facility. Each facility is going to be different, I think, and I think the important thing is to understand the sanitation and hygiene that your facility needs and the circumstances that you have in using it, whether you're a renter or have control of the facility. Mary Claire says that we present in many different venues and also have an office. Can we have the organization certified if we follow the guidelines in your office? The issue in terms of your office is that that's not where your public is going to encounter your work. I think so. This is an issue: is where is the public going to encounter your work? How do you make it safe for them to attend, as well as for you to present and for you to create? David asks, will certification adherence to the specified guidelines provide any degree of legal protection to your organization? That's a good question, and we're not lawyers. I think that that's something that you would need to get some support from, and you may want to look out to either volunteer lawyers and accountants for the arts or a lawyer that may be on your board. Tanya asks, can this be applied for outdoor events that would not require masking? And I think outdoor events or indoor events are going to require policies that address mitigation of the COVID-19. And certainly there's some advantages to an outdoor event. So if you develop your policies and look at, for example, outdoors, you have more opportunity for social distancing and in terms of capacity. Think about what it is that you have to do in order to make the event safer for people to attend and to present and to perform it. Emily asks, if volunteers volunteer from multiple organizations, will they get any sort of completion email that they send us so that we know they watched the video even if it wasn't at our request? The only acknowledgement that they would have is that they got the video. So it would be up to you to validate whether or not your volunteers took advantage of this. If you want us to validate that they registered, we could do that and check on that for you. Susan asked, are we to take the temperature of visitors too, or just staff? And that's a decision that you have as an organization a right to make on your own. We're asking you to look at the mitigation in terms of health screenings and how that applies to your organization and your audiences and what is feasible and necessary to create safety. So we're not saying that you have to do a health screening for every audience member, unless that's something that's viable for you to do. Phyllis asks, once there's a sense that much of the danger of transmission is past, please share some ways we may help build audience confidence, awareness of these protocols that have been identified to ensure safety. I think this is something that's going to be a long-term goal and focus for the arts organizations as well as us. Anna says, thank you so much for the service. I wonder who developed these guidelines. These guidelines were developed collaboratively with the 23 organizations that are part of the Missouri Art Safety Alliance. These are listed at the bottom of the MissouriArtSafe.org website. There were health professionals involved in this. Carly's organization worked closely with the health department for reopening. That's very smart, Carly. Thanks for mentioning that. Emily mentioned, when can we start the process and how soon can we get certified? You can start immediately. The materials are available today. Rick says, as a performing chorus, my perception is that we're reliant on the policies of whatever venue we rent. How will certification apply to us? It's true that you're dependent on the venues that you're in, I think, but how you operate within those venues, you have a lot of control over. And I think that that is a plan that you have to develop in coordination with the venue you're using and understanding the extent to which you have the ability to enhance the sanitation, enforce dress code policies, do health screenings, contact tracing protocols. Not all of this, most of this does not have to do with the venue itself, but how you operate within that venue. Jenny says, is there a way to get a list of those who watch the video from our organization just to make sure our staff watches this? Jenny, why don't you contact us and let us see if we can provide that for you. Sarah said that my town repealed all COVID ordinances, so each location and business is in charge of their own safety guidelines. Our gallery is housed inside the shared building of our area chamber. How would that shared space affect our certification? I plan to reach out and share this information with them. Shared building space is like being in a venue you rent. You know, you're not entirely in control of that space, but you are in control of how you use that space. And to the extent that you can address these 8 protocols and mitigate your risks and the risk of your artist, yourself, and your audience, I think that's what you want to focus on. Rick says it's commendable that we put together these guidelines and assistance. It is a great information that answers a lot of questions. They went virtual with their opening, and a lot of groups are going virtual. Leon uses various venues. Can we make sure venues are certified? Can we still be certified? You can still be certified by developing a plan, training your volunteers and your staff, and developing and or establishing your plan to mitigate these issues. And that's true for your venues as well. So you can be certified independent of the venue But if you're using somebody else's venue, you're going to have to work with them in order to make sure that you have the ability to mitigate the issues that you'll face in any venue. TS says that they have a social distance event and they'd be willing to share how they did if there is interest. I think that's helpful. Rachel's Art Center operates in normal times as a community center. Artists can host meetings, rehearsals by reserving various rooms. Have any other places come up with how to hold community members who reserve rooms accountable for adhering to guidelines? And I know that that's a question that we have raised with Arts and Education Council here in St. Louis at the Centene Center. You might want to reach out to them and see if they have done that. Joe asked, when will elements on the ArtSafe site be available for staff to review, organizations to register? You can register as soon as you've completed the requirements. We will be sending the elements that are not on the site right now, but they will be on the site by the end of the day. Diane asks if we recommend that education programs be done digitally from remote sites rather than in the schools. And Diane, that's going to depend on whether the schools will allow you to do that within the schools, what their preparedness is to have people from outside come in. And a lot of organizations who are working with schools have developed some remote access to items, but if the schools don't have the means to take advantage of that, that's something you would want to work out with them. An anonymous attendee asked, are there any recommendations regarding best practices specifically regard to reopening restrooms for public use? Is there any value, however, inconvenient to opening cultural spaces while restricting public restroom access, i.e. for staff only? Small organizations like indebted quarter general staff may have difficulty ensuring sanitation. And I can empathize with that. That certainly would be a difficult issue. We recognize that this increases the work and resources required to support the public. And so I think that's a decision that you have to make as an organization. What is the trade-off in terms of reducing the amenities that you have versus the work required to maintain their sanitation? Jennifer asks, if an organization has chosen to cancel their main arts event, can they still apply for certification? Yes. Alicia asked, did you state how long the certification process is in terms of how long we will maintain the certification? I think as long as needed. I think we all look forward to the day where such certification will be a moot issue. Evie asks, is there a process for monitoring or recertifications, or is this strictly on the honor code? That's a good question, Evie. This is a self-certification process. We are depending on you to validate that you have done this and that you are certifying yourself to the public. So there is no evaluation towards this. We are not going to do any on-site visits. We're not going to confirm that you have done this at an event. We simply don't have the ability to do that. Scott is in the video production business. Are there any resources for hiring or finding certified health safety supervisors? Thank you for the site. That's exactly what we needed. I think if we come across health safety supervisors, that's the resources that we can put on the websites, including sclartsresources.org. Rick asks, if you see any legal ramifications in the future for someone giving blame to an organization, exposing them. I see it coming. I think this has already happened. And I think this is one of the issues that the arts organizations, in fact, any organization that is open to the public, for profit or not, has. I think part of the legal defense would be the intentionality and your success in maintaining as high standards as you can. So that's 35 questions that we've answered quickly, and I want to open this up to Chris. I don't know if you would like to chime in here on this.
Thanks, Michael. It's good to be with everybody today. Yeah, I think, Michael, you did a great job. You covered everything. The only thing I'd love to reinforce is just that the Missouri Art Safety Alliance came together to share in the hard work that a lot of major organizations have done to do the research and develop their internal plans. So this is definitely meant to lift up orgs and artists of all sizes, that it's not something that was overly granular, so that you could have an access point to some of this best in practice work that's been done across the state. So these resource banks at MissouriArtSafe.org and STLArtsResource.org are going to give you great tools to build your plans. You're going to be able to go in and see how you've taken those universal measures and applied them to how people have taken the universal measures and applied them to their operating procedures and policies. So for an organization that isn't as resourced, isn't as deep in staff, you're going to be able to go there and find a lot of really, really great documents that you can use internally. Now you'll have to take those and apply them to your specific venue or practice, but a lot of that information will be there. And it's also really important to remember that you do have to publish these documents, and that's part of that honor system, that you go through these step-by-step processes, but then you actually take that and publish your plans on a website or somewhere that the public, your staff, and artists will be able to access it easily, so that you are held accountable to those standards. And that's who's going to be holding you accountable, are your staff, the general public, and the artists that work in your spaces. So the Missouri Art Safety Alliance won't be doing a lot of checks and balances with that, but I'm sure there'll be lots of people in your community that will. And we also did this just because we understood that we're only as good as our weakest link, and that the arts ecology is made up of arts organizations and of all sizes and disciplines. Individual artists gather for rehearsals and in studios, and we really do want to make sure that this is something that can lift up and level the playing field for everyone. So please take advantage of these resources. This is one step in your preparedness. It's an important step, and training and testing your strategies is a critical key to knowing if you can take these measures into practice. So, I hope this is informative, and it's a great tool for you as you start your planning. And good luck, and we'll be available throughout this, for the next however long it takes to be ready to answer questions. And we'll be gathering with monthly webinars to talk about more granular issues that you're facing. So thanks again for being here. Michael?
Thanks, Chris. I would follow up and say that there are two things that we will validate, that we can validate. One is that you had individuals from your organization who registered to view the video, and two, that you do have a plan in place, because we're going to link your plan to that page. So you have to have a plan. So we're going to look at the plan, make sure that it covers the areas that it needs to cover. So those things will be validated. I've got a couple more questions that we've got in here. One, another anonymous, or maybe it's the same anonymous attendee, says, I've seen organizations use informed consent forms upon entry, outlining mask protocols for what is required. Is that something we recommend? I think that's something that we're going to have examples of on the resource site. So we'll put examples of that on the resource sites. We're not recommending that you need to do that, but we'll make that resource available. Somebody asked about, Carly asked, will resources be available for organizations regarding what to do when a staff member tests positive for COVID-19? And we've had that conversation in our meetings. And the first step is you contact your county health authorities, and they will tell you what the next steps are. Contact tracing is where this is going to be handy, is when you have those tools in place. Rick asked, may I air this on my TV shows, Missouri Arts News and Spotlights on the News? And I'm going to turn that over to Chris. I assume you're talking about the video specifically.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question. Were you saying, can the video and these resources be shared publicly through different media platforms?
That's what this question's asked, specifically on Mid-Missouri Arts News and Spotlight on the Arts. This is a public access television programs.
Yes, this is meant to be an abundantly transparent process and a resource for all. So there's nothing behind the veil. You can use them as you see fit to use them. The video will be something that we can share for certain purposes like that. We'll just ask you to reach out and make a request, if it's a press request, and how you would like to utilize the video. But absolutely, if we can get this message spread and more organizations and artists feel empowered to do the work, absolutely, we'll be happy to share it. Just reach out and get the permission for download. I don't believe the link on the websites will be something you can download and take internally. You'll have to go there to watch it. But if someone needs that to do a group training or in a different platform, you can make that special request.
Okay, I've got a couple more questions now. Need to ask how many board members and staff need to take the training. Sometimes hard to get board members time giving their day jobs. Nina, the people that need to take the training are the ones that are going to be in frontline positions with the public at the events and at the venue. So if they're going to be at the event and at the venue, they should take the training. It's a 9-minute video. I think that's something that would be accessible to most anyone. Anonymous asked, what does an organization plan have to be into Missouri Arts in order to be included in the press release? When does an arts organization have to be in the press release? We're not going to create a press release about this. We're going to continue to promote the site publicly on a number of platforms. But because this is an ongoing effort, there's not going to be a specific time it has to be in. Anytime you get it in, you're going to continue to see it promoted to the public, and you're going to help promote it to the public. Anonymous asked, for small organizations with 10 performers or less, we still need certification if we keep social distance and masks. I think it's not just the number of people in your group, it's your audience as well. So you need to have a plan that covers the people who are creating this, presenting this, and the audience that are attending this. Okay, I think we've satisfied the questions. And so I'm going to tell you that there's several things that we're going to follow up on. Okay, more questions. Will the video be available on YouTube or the two mentioned sites of you provide before we have a written COVID plan? Yeah, the video is available now on, you have to go to MissouriArtSafe.org, click on the link that takes you to the registration. And at first step of the 4-step registration, there's a link to the video, and it'll ask you to register your name and type and role and organization, and then it will immediately take you to the video. So yes, you definitely have that before you do the written plan, and you should do that before you do the written plan. So Rick is pointing out that his Access programs are on Access and YouTube as well. Okay, so what happens next is we're going to send up a follow-up email. It's going to include the universal measures and links to the several links that we've talked about. In a couple of days, you'll get the recording and a link to the recording and the transcriptions, which we're going to put on MissouriArtSafe.org. So that will be available on an ongoing basis. You're going to want to review the universal measures and see how those apply to your organization and figure out what are the plans that you're going to put together. You're going to look at the STLArtsResources.org to get the resources there, and continue to review the MissouriArtSafe.org and see the plans that are linked to that. And finally, we're going to be developing some resources, as we said earlier, for small organizations, templates and questionnaires that will help you that are smaller organizations ask the questions that you need in order to understand and develop your own specific plans. Someone said you can't access the video if you don't begin registration, and the registration is just for the video. So short registration, just asking for the name, the organization, and your role. So the answer is yes. And you're welcome, Dameron. I want to thank everybody for participating, and ArtsKC for providing the platform, Chris and Kranzberg Arts Foundation for supporting and creating this tremendous training video for all of us. Give us email us if you have any questions, and thanks for your help. If you have additional questions, then we will answer some of these questions, any additional questions that you ask in the email that you'll get today. And we'll also update the frequently asked questions based on the questions that you've asked.
Good job, Michael.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Michael. That was, and Chris, that was fabulous. Thanks to both of you.
Well, it's good to be with you, and we'll see you again soon. But yeah, great start, and thanks for everybody's hard work. It's wonderful to see it landing and be a meaningful part of moving us forward. So
yeah.